AOL.com. Hawk is the bird that flies, plural. Blood, as in the blood in your body, and the number 1 at AOL.com. All right. I answer my emails sooner or later, usually sooner, depending on what situation I'm involved with, and I'm in a really weird situation right now. But getting back to this deal of karma, and things happen because of that. I mean, you're here again because of karma. So you didn't get what you needed to get before you could get out of here. Now, very few souls have the ability to choose that they're going to come back and what they're going to be or doing. I mean, you could choose that. Think you're choosing that? You're not. Because and here's how I can prove that it's a lie. How many people die in a year? All right? How many people are starving and homeless on the planet? Over 90%. So you think with the turnover of people dying, that would be changing completely, dramatically every year. But it's not. It's only getting worse. So that means people aren't coming back as kings and queens or super famous people becoming superstars. I'm not saying there's little children now that are aware, because they're aware of their past lives. I guarantee that these women or men that are little singing are aware of their past life, of that aspect, and they can manifest it easier. When a child gets in front of a piano and starts playing it, what do you think that is? I'm not saying he was Ludwig Beethoven, but he was aware of music, and it's part of it. When a person gets on a horse, they always say, if you learn how to ride a horse, you'll never forget it. Well, if you learned it in another lifetime, you don't have to go through learning it again in this lifetime. So those things are not average thoughts in the average person. They don't give that much consideration, which it needs a lot. So now, the problem with all this, and I'll say it, hate me or not, the white race has always been the killers. The ones creating war. The white race is not the red race is not the yellow race, and the yellow race is not the black race. Whether you believe that or not, your choice. Yes, you can have sex and have a child that's both genes of both. Whatever the root is, what you started with can come back at any time. But in the beginning, tribal people did not have sex with anybody outside of the tribe. And so in religions, it's always about only this tribe that you can be with and stuff, and have to marry certain people, children, boys or girls, whatever the situation is. But yeah, it's going to change. We'll all be one race sooner or later. There's no doubt about that happening. It's going to be one race against robots. And sadly, I don't think mankind's going to win because of the ignorance and what they want. I'm not going to go into that. I mentioned that the last time. But listen to my shows if you can. But tell your friends to listen to this one. If they're a woman, make sure they listen to it. If they're a man, well, men don't care and won't care either. They say, well, I don't want to hear that. That's baloney. I'm not like that. Oh, men will say and defend themselves always. That's why they'll defend another man over a woman. Go to a bar. Go to a club. Look at the abuse in that. And just real fast, if I was president, I'd make it a law. If a man takes a woman into a hotel room, he's responsible for anything that happens. Period. Oh, she was drunk. Oh, she was... No, you brought her in there. You're responsible. You had the awareness to bring her into a room. Like however this story is going to go down, we'll get into that in a couple minutes. So programming is what man accepts, and it's twisted program. It started with alien races coming here. After Atlantis went down, we were like open for anything. And obviously, the gods that they accepted them as created and controlled their thinking. And murder was injected into them. And that's when, I mean, go back in history, all the arenas of fighting and killing and all those things. It was entertainment. The same as boxing and wrestling and all those sports are for entertainment now. And I just did a thing on that and saying, how could we let all our money go to that? Because you were programmed to believe in the beginning that hot dogs and smoking and hot dogs and beer were the most important thing to have on you when you're watching a football game. while you're watching a football game? Who sponsored all TV, everything? Who sponsored everything? The liquor industry and the smoking cigarette industry. Now, how come cigarettes were taken off of TV and beer and liquor has not? Think about it. And you remember, and just to show you programming ideas, remember the cigarettes called Cool, COOL? And they would have this person standing on top of a mountain, throwing her arms up in the air and her hair flying through the breeze, smoking a cigarette. Does that sound cool? They made you believe it was. And then the image of being cool. Oh, you had to have a cigarette in your hand. It's programming. It has nothing to do with you, really, unless you become part of the program. And you can change that in any given moment. I give techniques how to get out of that programming. And I won't remember his name, but one of the greatest speakers out there, the big tall guy, that's what I call him. He gives it 21 days to awareness and things like that. Good speaker. But it's really, I say 30 days. If you're willing to commit 30 days to working to get that program changed, you can change it. It has to be changed. There's no doubt about it. If you live with that program, it will destroy you. It'll keep you from being who you are and the best you can be, which is all that matters. That's all you can do in this life. You're not going to change the world, and why would you want to? Jesus did not come to change the world. Second of all, they didn't listen to a word he said either. So, sadly, nobody was ready. Anyway, a few. So, when we talk about how men became massive killers and rapists because of a couple different races, not just the Anunnaki. They're not God. They're not nothing. If you want to believe that whole story, you're getting pulled into the UFO world, which is programmed by Seaching and a few other people. But it's not beneficial, not helpful, and it's not going to be like they're going to come down here and reprogram us again. That's not going to happen. Our government is way beyond what anybody wants to think, perceive, or even know about. I don't think so. Somebody asked me about the Aryans. No, it's not. It has to do with the reptilians and the draconians. The Anunnaki were there, but again, there was each one played different roles. The killing and other things that are going on were based on many other things. But we'll talk about that. But food is quite critical among all of it. To any race. Whatever race you are, food is the only thing that's important. Not how big your house is or how fast you can get around. The food that you eat is. The water that you drink is the most important. So yeah, that's all that matters to any race. And now they said they found water on Mars. They found it. It was always there. Things that they say they find, like when they found the United States, it was always there. Just that they happened to walk on it, and people were already there. The same as Moses walking his people, which weren't the people he left with, to the Promised Land. There were people there. It's not like they found something different. And what did they do? Kill people. Religion is not the answer. Truth is. If you find the truth of your religion and take the truth out of it, you walk away with the truth. But there's very little truth in most of the stories, most of the documents, and the stories written by man. Man writes great stories, and then guess what? They believe them. They like to adapt this perverted, twisted story into their reality. It makes them bigger. It makes them feel like a man, whatever that's supposed to feel like. And not to go into the sexual part of changing sexes and all that, that's another program going on, which is being abused in a lot of ways. Were you born that way? Oh, your genetic code said you were. What? Your soul is separate than your body. And the hardest thing that anybody is going through is learning how to understand what the soul is saying and the mind saying. The mind's programmed with all these weird things where soul isn't. Soul doesn't have a sex, so even the idea of being a male or female is the male ego or the female ego. And it could be from past lives. You become, usually you're one more so than the other. I mean, if you're a man, you'll be man in many lifetimes, and a woman once or twice. If you're a woman, you'll be a woman many times, and a man once in a while. It's just so that soul can experience a difference when it comes here. Which is getting twisted into, well, I am that, or I am this. How many people say they're God? Give me a break. They're not. Nobody's going to be God ever. Nobody. Put them all together, and they're still not God. So, the object that these killers, man, like to sacrifice young and old women. Why is that? All through history. We'll get into the story how Mary Magdalene was considered one person in the Bible as this, and she wasn't even that ever. In the United States, mainly up in Salem where I went and things like that, men like to blame women for being witches. I say I was a witch when I was young, which I was. Witch doesn't mean male or female, but men writing the definition of it does. Warlock or whatever. I mean, it's just a different name. We're soul, and soul doesn't have a sex. The same as a witch is touching on psychic abilities. That doesn't make a male or female. So I always say I'm a witch. I don't care what people say about, oh, you're a guy. I said, well, a witch is a witch. And witch is witch. But again, men killed many witches in the United States, but they didn't kill many witches up in Salem. That was propaganda and put fear. And I'll tell you how bad the fear was. I was a witch when I was young in a city living near Jersey City. Now, people that heard the word witch, they put signs out in the parks and stuff. If you know a witch, write their name, address here. And they would go out of their way to try to burn the house down, blow up the car, and things like that. My good friend's friend was a lawyer, woman wrestler. Seriously. And she became involved with the whole thing of witchcraft. She went to court, and in New Jersey had it changed into a religion, legally. So it was no longer condemned, and it couldn't be condemned because it was now a real religion. So I've been through all of that, and most people have no clue about why or how did it really become anything. Yes, it's a religion now, and it's accepted. Killing's not accepted, but then again, if you go to war and kill somebody, it's okay. Beating somebody up is okay if you get paid for it. All the people have to pay for it. One person can't pay you to beat somebody up. It's kind of weird, the scenarios that they use to allow these things to exist inside the United States. Never mind other countries. I don't live in other countries, so I won't talk about them much. I was here most of my lifetimes, so I'm not going to talk about Germany and Russia and China. I mean, I see the things, I know people, and I hear things, but I don't like to repeat multiple stories that I don't have the truth about, that I know for truth directly. I was in Tibet in the mountains when I was young. In another lifetime, I was killed real young as well. But most of my lifetimes was in the United States, except for when I was a female. Yes, I was there in another country. I go into that if somebody wants to really hear the truth about Mary Magdalene and Jesus and what really went down and things. That's what my book is about. My newest book is The True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization. From being alive with Mary Magdalene being my best friend. I was there when Jesus was killed, period. Not walked away, got off the cross and ran away or nothing like that. He had to die. He knew he was going to die. Anything Christians say, any religious person doesn't know the truth if they say anything other than he had to die. He had to die to prove what he was teaching, period. So I'll debate anybody on this planet. I've been writing letters to the Pope and the Dalai Lama and Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, all these people every day, and whatever I can. When I hear their stupid remarks, their letters they put up on a daily basis. Hope is useless without action. You sit in your house and hope and pray, nothing's going to happen. If you don't go out to change things. Now, a medicine woman I study with, and she said something really important. Get involved with two things in your life. One,